arriving. Such a nice crowd, I'd say. I'm using a microphone, so does this work?
No.
Cannot hear it at all? Can
Yeah. Mic is
It's
not
on. Yeah, it's on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. And I want to do a quick thank you for everyone that made this evening possible, starting with the MUM Library. I want to thank them for their funding for this event. And thank you to Irving Toast Poetry Ghost for giving me some cash to get this going. And also, definitely the Humanities Iowa, who is a major funder of this event tonight. And we have with us tonight Mary Swander, our Iowa Poet Laureate. And if you care, I'm Rustin Larson. Hello.
Great.
Okay. So let me say a little bit about the Iowa Poet Laureate position. The Iowa Poet Laureate is a 2-year renewable appointment sponsored by Humanities Iowa that is intended to recognize the importance of poetry in Iowans' everyday lives. The first Poet Laureate was Marvin Bell, the University of Iowa's Flannery O'Connor Professor of Letters. A National Book Award finalist, Bell is the author of 16 books of poetry, and Bell's appointment as Poet Laureate came in March 2002, following his unanimous recommendation to the governor by a committee of 6 poetry experts from around the state. In 2004, Robert Dana was named Iowa's second Poet Laureate. Dana, a Pulitzer Prize nominee, was a professor of English and poet in residence at Cornell College in Mount Vernon. Dana was reappointed to the position in 2006 and continued to serve as the voice of Iowa poetry during his term. In 2009, Governor Chet Culver appointed Mary Swander, the Poet Laureate of the state of Iowa. Her most recent book of poetry is The Girls on the Roof, a Mississippi River flood narrative. She has worked with the Eulenspiegel Puppet Theater to create a performance piece of The Girls for the stage. Currently, she is also touring her play Farmscape. Is that still true? Okay. A docudrama capturing the changing rural environment. She is the co-founder of Ag Arts, a national group designed to explore the intersection of the arts and agriculture, and is developing a website, the Iowa Literary Community, where anyone with an Iowa connection can post poetry and other pieces of writing. And I think I'll leave it at that she's got her books up here. She's going to read from The Desert Pilgrim. I'll just say a little bit about that. It was originally published by Viking in 2003 and reissued by Ice Cube Press. And here's a copy of Girls on the Roof. She'll read from that. And then there's another book, How I Got My Dog, and she's probably got some other things that I don't see here. So please welcome our Iowa Poet Laureate, Mary Swander.
Thank you, Rustin. Hi, Francis. Great poet introduces another poet. Let's put it that way. Very nice. Thank you for coming, and to Humanities Iowa for sponsoring this event. I'm a writer who enjoys different cultures and different landscapes, so I'm going to take you on a tour of 3 very different landscapes tonight. And the first one starts on the Mississippi River, and this is from The Girls on the Roof. And The Girls on the Roof is the story of a mother and daughter, Maggie and Pearl, stuck on top of the roof of a catfish dive for 3 days on the banks of the Mississippi River, not far from here. And while they're up there during the 1993 flood, and while they're up there, they discover that they have both had an affair with the same man. So our story starts 10 years after this event at the Great Flood Reunion, the Great Flood 10-year reunion. Actually, this book takes place in Missouri, just because it's a little more raunchy than most of my books. And everybody in the town, the little town, if you drive by and you read the sign, it says Pompeii, but since we're in the Midwest, that is pronounced Pompey. So everyone in Pompey is back in Crazy Eddie's Cafe for the 10-year reunion, and they had previously all washed up into the Mississippi River during the flood, and some of them survived, and some of them died, and some of them decided to get the heck out of town. So they're all back here for at least one day. The day the levee broke, the day the mighty Mississippi washed Maggie and Pearl, mother and daughter, up on top of their catfish dive, the river rushed through our tiny town of Pompey. With a whoosh, crack, bam, boom, a power so Herculean that with one swift slap of its hand, the water knocked out all the windows and tore the door right off the hinges of Crazy Eddie's Cafe. The very gates of hell opened, and the great flood of the 20th century came crashing, dashing through. Maggie and Pearl had been warned. Sure, the whole town knew. Any fool could have seen it coming. Yep, and now, 10 years out, we're all back here at the Great Flood Reunion. We sit in the cafe, landlubbers and river rollers, shaking our heads and clucking our tongues about those bad waters, the flow that carries us back to a different time, when the very ground under our feet gave way and every twig we clung to floated off beyond our reach. And now, 10 years out, we struggle to remember that summer, think of where we were and where we went when the big wall hit. We gather here together once again, the living and the dead, the seen and the unseen, the genuine and the ghosts, all who've come and gone, each taking a place at a table, in a booth, or on a stool, duct tape stuck to vinyl. We gather once again to piece together a tall tale, a story too long and wide for a single person to spin. We tilt back our chairs, watch turkey gizzards swimming in the mason jar on the counter, hear the waves lap at the banks outside the door, and realize just how lucky we are to be here on dry land with a beer in hand. Yeah,